Welcome back to the channel, Patriots. Today we are tackling a topic that gets the polymer frame purists riled up every single time. I hear the guys at the local range talking trash constantly. They act like anything without a double-stack magazine is basically an antique paperweight. But as someone who has carried, trained, and run force on force drills for decades, I am here to tell you that mindset is lethally flawed. You do not survive more than 100 years of armed conflict by accident. This caliber remains relevant in 2026 because it violently neutralizes threats. Before we push out to the 50-yard berm, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and leave a comment down below to help us beat the shadow bans and tech censorship. Let us gear up and break this down. Forged in the jungle, let us clear the air on the actual origins of this defensive powerhouse. Too many folks assume a pocket revolver was explicitly designed for deep concealment in a suit jacket. That completely ignores the bloody history behind this cartridge. Back in the Philippine American War, U.S. troops were carrying the .38 long Colt, and it proved to be a catastrophic liability. They were shooting highly motivated insurgents who literally absorbed the impacts and kept swinging their machetes. The military desperately needed a projectile that would actually anchor a human target. Armorers took the existing brass, stretched it out, and dumped a significantly larger powder charge inside. That engineering pivot birthed the law enforcement titan. From the rum-running days of the 1920s all the way to the crack epidemic of the 1980s, this was the ultimate patrol weapon. Picking up a classic Smith Wesson Model 10 means gripping a piece of ordnance designed to dominate lethal force encounters. It was engineered for warfare, period. The pocket artillery walk into any high-end gun shop today. You are going to spot a Smith & Wesson 642 right next to the latest SIG 365. And those wheel guns are still flying off the shelves. The reason is pure, unfiltered geometry. A revolver features sweeping, organic lines that naturally contour to the human waistline. It lacks the sharp, blocky edges that aggressively print through a t-shirt. But the true tactical supremacy shines in extreme close quarters. Nobody is packing a 5-shot wheel gun to do a dynamic raid on a hostile stronghold. You carry it for that terrifying moment when a predator is physically on top of you. I have run vehicle defense classes where we simulate a grappling fight in the driver's seat. If you end up in a ground fight, pressing a semi-auto into a ribcage can push the slide out of battery. A frantic grapple can easily strip your magazine onto the pavement. A snub-nose wheel gun completely bypasses those catastrophic malfunctions. You establish your grip, you crush the trigger, and it detonates. Pushing the pressure if you base your opinion entirely on generic mass-produced target ammunition. You are missing the ballistic reality. Shooting 130-grain range fodder feels like a toy, but defensive ammunition is an entirely different beast. We are talking exclusively about +P capability. Standard loads hover around 17,000 psi, stepping up to +P violently spikes that chamber pressure closer to 20,000 psi. When you load a cylinder with premium hollow points, like a 135-grain spear gold dot, or a heavy hard-cast projectile from Buffalo Bore, you are yielding terminal ballistics that mirror standard 9mm defensive rounds. Run a 4-inch barrel, and you will easily blast past 1,000 feet per second. Even out of a 2-inch concealed carry frame, you generate the velocity required to force reliable hollow point expansion in ballistic gelatin. Obviously, ensure your specific firearm is rated for that pressure spike. Modern polymer frames and solid steel platforms handle +P without breaking a sweat. If you carry a vintage K-frame, be mindful of the stress on that older metallurgy, but never mistake this round for being underpowered. Hitting the target, the internet loves to argue about 9mm versus 45 ACP. They obsess over the raw power of the 357 Magnum. But they completely ignore human biomechanics under stress. The true deciding factor is how fast you can accurately drive rounds into the thoracic cavity. The FBI trusted this exact caliber for decades. They standardized a heavy lead semi-wad cutter hollow point because it consistently anchored bad guys. It delivered immense penetration and violent expansion. More importantly, field agents could actually manage the recoil impulse. Put a modern Micro 9 in a beginner's hands and watch them flinch as the muzzle violently whips upward. Swap that out for a heavy steel wheel gun, and watch their groups shrink instantly. A loud report does not win a lethal encounter. Severing the central nervous system does. This caliber permits the defender to fire rapid controlled strings without fighting the sights. Delivering 5 surgical hits in under 2 seconds is vastly superior to panic. firing a 15-round magazine into the surrounding drywall. Mastering the trigger, let us be brutally honest about the learning curve here. Plenty of range officers tell newbies to buy a revolver because it is simple. I think that is terrible advice. Yes, loading and unloading is mechanically straightforward, but pulling a 12-pound factory trigger while keeping your sights perfectly aligned is incredibly difficult. You have to roll that trigger straight back without disturbing your sight picture. And if you are running a featherweight pocket gun, the physics are completely unforgiving. All that kinetic energy bypasses a reciprocating slide and slams directly into the webbing of your hand. It hurts. I have watched heavily built guys set a snub, nose down after 5 shots because the palm sting was too aggressive. However, there is an incredible training value to that punishment. If you commit to daily dry fire and conquer that heavy double-action stroke, you will become an absolute surgeon with a handgun. It demands absolute perfection in your grip and trigger press. It will highlight every micro-flinch in your technique. Master a heavy double action, and you will become a surgical shooter with any platform on Earth. Rolling your own for the guys manufacturing their own defensive loads out in the garage, this casing is a masterpiece. It is undeniably one of the most user-friendly straight-walled cartridges in existence. The operating pressure is remarkably low, meaning your brass will survive countless cycles through the sizing die. I have batches of brass that have been through the press dozens of times and still seat a bullet perfectly. You can completely customize your performance matrix. Drop a microscopic powder charge under a 148-grain wad cutter, and you have a laser-accurate load that feels like a .22 long rifle. Or you can pack it full of slow-burning powder and safely emulate the lower threshold of a .357 Magnum. It is an incredibly safe cartridge for teaching new reloaders. There is zero feed ramp geometry to worry about. The projectile makes a clean jump directly into the forcing cone. If you want to understand the science of internal ballistics, this is your starting line. The bottom line as we evaluate our tactical options in May of 2026, we have to ask the hard question. Is it time to retire this classic cartridge? Not a chance. There is a profound reason you still see undercover vice cops carrying a J-frame as their primary backup. There is a reason citizens trust it on their nightstand. It is a mechanical failsafe designed for the worst day of your life. It ignores compromised firing grips. It ignores pocket lint and debris. When you need it to detonate, it delivers every single time you pull the trigger. In a culture obsessed with optic, ready polymer guns that require a flawless grip to function, the 38 Special stands alone as the undisputed king of reliability. When I am operating in a non-permissive environment, a wheel gun is what goes into my waistband. Not for the nostalgia factor, because I am willing to bet my life on that steel. When the fight comes to you, absolute reliability is the only metric that keeps you breathing. If you still respect the combat legacy of the wheel gun, sound off in the comments section. I want to know exactly what you are carrying in your cylinder. Are you running modern defensive technology like Horn, a D-critical defense? Or are you keeping it raw with traditional heavy lead wad cutters? If you pulled some real tactical value out of this breakdown, do me a massive favor. Hit that like button to support the channel. Smash subscribe so you are notified the second our next video drops. And send this link to that friend who still claims revolvers belong in a museum. Train violently. Stay dangerous. And I will see you guys out on the range.